happening. No, you can't even tell, girl. And, like, for a minute, let's give thanks, like, you know, it's fun, like, can you imagine if right now you had, like, a mouthful of, like, big, thick metal braces? Which is totally
I,
fine, which is
that's
totally
what it
fine.
feels like. That's what it feels like. But I've never had braces, so I can't compare. I know people that have braces. I have a whole new level of respect for people that have gone through
Yeah.
adjusting their mouth. You know what
Mhm,
I mean?
mhm. Yeah,
Ah, yeah.
it is,
I've
it's pain.
never had to do this, and it's just like messing with my head a little bit.
Well,
It's
it
a
looks good,
first world
girl.
problem. Yeah,
I know, I know, but you know
yeah.
what, like, no, fuck that for a minute. Like, I had this deep when we'll go into our conversation. Welcome in, everyone. Please tell us where you're tuning in from. This is so, so fun. We are Divine Femme. So happy to be here with you. But this whole idea, I love what you just said, my girl. Like, I've done that too, where we have to validate. Look, let's call it like we're two white girls in the States. Why should we have any problems? But we have to acknowledge that we go through stuff too, and it's okay. I think it's important to validate each other in this world, but also whatever frequency or whatever level of your problem, it's you still have an emotion that you go through. You still have something important to you. So that's a side note. But
Wow. No, that's a good side note that maybe we should steer
yeah.
for just a second because you just brought up two
Mhm.
white girls living in the States. Like, how do you have any problems? Because I hear this
Mhm.
sometimes, when you hear people talk about white privilege and things like that, making it seem like this conversation is, I guess, is just going to go there. But this is a conversation that really needs to be had because
Mhm.
people will, assume from the outside in that everything's peachy keen. There's no struggle. There's no drama. What do you have to complain about? Blah, 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 blah. And of course, I'm
Mhm.
not going to sit up here and cry the blues because, oh, God forbid, I went and opted in to get Invisalign so that my mouth is like perfect. But
Mhm.
that's something that I opted to do and I have the ability to do it. I'm grateful for it, even though I'm over here crying about it a little bit on the side. So I'm not going to sit here and compare this to other
Mhm.
real world problems, that are going on. I'm not going to discount that.
Mhm.
But it's even like when people go through traumas and stuff like that, people will do that where they discount, like, oh, how can I feel bad about this for a minute and allow myself to process the grief or the shame or the fear around this because somebody else down the road has something else going on that could be worse. And
Mhm.
so then we don't allow ourselves to fully experience what it is that we want to that we're experiencing. And it's almost like
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
we don't deserve the right to, oh, God forbid, have bad days or not wake up and just think that the sun is, like everything is just rainbows and butterflies 24/7. I
Yeah.
like especially that you brought this up regarding you played the white card right at the very beginning of this, because
Mhm.
people, you know, it's just it's 10:10 as I'm looking at the clock on the on the microwave again. I always glance up at that time.
At that time.
This
Yeah.
is just a conversation that needs to be had because the more we segregate people based on the color of their skin, whether that be white or black or whatever race or nationality or sex or gender, the more
Mhm.
labels we give ourselves and then tell ourselves, okay, this is okay to act a certain way or be a certain way because of this.
Mhm.
And you don't have the right to express yourself or say this or that because of this. Like, God forbid, like you said, a white girl in the States walking around has a problem with anything to complain about. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess
Mhm.
we can only allow that to happen. We can only have
Yeah.
any issues if we're uh, in a certain space, in a certain place, with a certain color, with a certain whatever. And then we have the ability. And then what does that say about those, that's okay to have that
Yeah.
experience if you're coming from a different perspective like that? And
Mhm.
then how does someone break free from that if we're already pigeonholing them into it's okay for you to feel like shit? It's not okay for you to feel like shit. So
Yeah.
then we're pigeonholing people already based on these outwardly perceptions that we have, and I'm saying, okay, it's okay for you to feel like shit. It's not okay for you. And then it,
Yeah.
it really only locks you more into the separateness and
Separation. Yep.
and the label and the identification with the pain or the struggle or this or that. What if we
Mm.
just let everybody off the hook and we realize that there's really one race? It's called the human race, and we're all
Yes.
walking around this world, and we all have
Yeah.
issues, dramas, and traumas. And it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, and it doesn't matter whose trauma is worse or better than the other. When we fully can come together and recognize that there is no ultimate separation,
Mhm.
then we can start to unify as human
Yeah.
beings having this physical experience.
Oh, this gets me so lit. Welcome in, you guys. Oh my gosh. Let that land for 1 second because that was really, really powerful and divinely orchestrated. And it brings us to this topic. Apologies, it keeps on going dark, and I want to make sure that I stay on. So let me get this out. This brings it full circle. I have chills to this topic today, you guys, the purge before your new beginning. And oh, I don't want to lose it. What'd you just say, Sarah? It brings me to this. Oh, I talk about this all the time, but when we can learn and practice, I love what you said, the human race, like not judging any of it, but surrendering like a wave, surrendering into the pain, surrendering into it. Because when you do that, two things happen. And I'll speak from my experience. Two things happen. One, and I've practiced this so much, and I want to validate this is very important. I really get pissed the fuck off when people show up, no matter what race, whoever the fuck you are, when you show up and don't validate. Sarah and I validate. We validate your pain. We hear your pain. We validate it. And a new perspective of helping each other. No matter like what Sarah said, your race or anything, helping each other. Stop the separateness, unite as one, the human race, and remember who we are, which is the awareness of it all, any pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when for me, I've been practicing, you surrender into it. You surrender into it like a wave. Two things happen. One, you become the awareness of it, right? We talk about this
Mm-hmm.
all the time. The awareness of it. You are the awareness of it, not of it. And again, when you become the
Mm-hmm.
awareness of it, you expand yourself out. Can we feel, you guys? It's so, so fun. That gives your power back. You're not in
Mm-hmm.
the muck. You're not so heavy feeling all that. You are beyond it. You can see it from
You're
a new
not the
perspective.
experience. You're not the
Exactly.
experience, regardless of the fact if we have 8 billion people on the planet, there's going to be 8 billion different experiences. So the one thing that we can agree on is that everybody's perception is unique, and
Yes.
it is a perception, and it is an experience outside of who you truly are, which you are not
Yes.
that experience.
And the perception, I love these comments that we see coming through. Absolutely. The perception, because your perception's everything, right? Perception is reality. And I really believe, yes, we're all one, which is so important to me, but we also are going through our own unique soul's journey. So when we don't allow each other to communicate and talk about it and feel it and have a safeness in this world for people to feel what they're feeling without the judgment, whether through yourself or through someone else, we can allow ourselves to heal. We can allow ourselves to get through that perception, see it for what it is, and rise above it and come back to our truest self, which is the point, which is the purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
I have chills again because when you do that too, when you allow yourself, and like let's revert back into this actual conversation, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for letting us share that. But this whole embracing the purge before your new beginning,
Mm-hmm.
it helps you with this courage and this resilience that you didn't even know you could have within you or experience if you don't allow yourself to embrace the purge, embrace what you're going through, surrender into it. There's a reason why Jesus Christ, I love, always related everything to his messages to nature. Nature is such a great example of how we should live our life, like more in flow, surrender into the wave, like let it come through. And then the other side, does that make sense? But
Mm-hmm.
this topic is so important because there are so many people waking up right now, which we talk about, and the clients we work with, especially if you're new to spirituality, if you're especially new to your spiritual journey. But what's so important is you courageously surrendering, embracing the purge, and having this come out and coming into your fullest self is not just helping you and your soul mission, you're helping the consciousness of the entire humanity, of all of consciousness. Does that make sense? And can we see how it's so much bigger than us? Can we see how we're all part of this web, this human God source web, which
Mm-hmm.
is just beautiful to me. Absolutely fucking beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. And when I think back on the different, before each new beginning and before each new up leveling, for me to sit here right now and share with you from where I'm at now, this feels like a fairy tale compared
Mhm.
to where I was 10 years ago, right? So, how many cycles and new beginnings and reinventions of of how I'm going to relate in the world have cycled through in order to be able to share from this place right now, right? And so dealing with this is what happens a lot when clients sign up with us, even before they jump in, but definitely after they jump in. There's this huge purge that happens where all of the fears that are coming up that are keeping you from stepping into your authentic truth, from the prosperity that you desire, from the lifestyle you desire, from the freedom that you desire. You know, there's a purging that occurs. You know, there was a time where me sitting here complaining about my Invisalign that I just opted into and dropped would have been a fairy tale compared to the bankruptcy and the hundreds of thousands, you know, like almost $100,000 in debt and being declined at the grocery store buying groceries on my credit card. You know what I mean? Like this was reality where I had like $300 to my name,
Mhm.
right? And so in order for me to come full circle in these transitional um cycles that have always lead to a new up leveling and then to a new beginning, you have to be able and willing. And I know the ones that are really connecting with us that are listening to this, you do embrace the purge, right? But there's a surrendering that'll make it. When our clients pop into Sacred Leader Academy, for example, the first thing that'll come up is all the belief systems and the fears and the bubbling and the place where they're quote unquote, we use the prostitute archetype, prostituting their value systems, their beliefs, not their beliefs, their value systems, and what feels true to them and what feels authentic to them, and really having up level their boundaries. And so there's always this purge that happens, just like every new beginning. And at the end of that, you get to finally up level into the next version of yourself.
Mhm.
The interesting thing that happens when you're also simultaneously on a conscious evolution is that while you're up leveling and purging and you're spiritually on the quote unquote spiritual journey, saying that in air quotes because everybody already is, whether you know it or not.
Mhm.
But when you're consciously on it, then you also recognize that you are not any of those things that are coming up. And so then you enter the state of dismantling. It
Mhm.
feels like a dismantling. It feels like things are falling apart before they come back together even stronger. When I look at every single up leveling in my experience in New Beginning, that's the one common theme was, and I don't know, maybe we can talk about this. Is that a belief system? Am I manifesting this? Am I, but this is part of nature. You mentioned nature, right? You mentioned
Mhm.
destruction is part of nature. Destruction
Yeah.
is part of nature.
Mhm.
This is how nature rebuilds and regrows, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
There's ebb and a flow. But us as humans, we want to latch on to the purge, the dysfunction, or the negative, quote unquote, perceived negative frequencies or energies or belief systems or fears that are bubbling up to be released, and see that, oh, in the midst of it, if not heightened awareness around it, in the midst of it, it can feel like everything is falling apart.
Yeah.
And it'll and rightly so, because you'll look around your world and a lot will be falling apart. Like you'll
Mhm.
be losing jobs, money will be scarce, relationships will fall away. Like there'll be lots of things that will feel like everything is crumbling.
Mhm.
Right? These are those tower moments. When you look at the tarot deck, I love referring to tarot, even though I don't really
Yes.
I don't use them anymore. But right after the tower card is the star card, and the star card is
Mhm.
about the wish fulfillment and the rebirth and the healing that occurs, which you will see in nature as well, right after the
Mhm.
destruction. So really there's a difference between fighting against the purge. This is why the
Mhm.
title is called Embracing the Purge, because you can fight against the purge
Mhm.
and you can fight against of the chaos and the fear and the bubbling up of the belief systems and this or that you're no longer aligned with, and the things falling
Mhm.
away and the destruction and the quote unquote tower moment that happens
Yeah.
right before
Yeah.
everything starts to come together into a new phase, a new journey, a new beginning, a new cycle has started.
Yeah.
Destruction is
And
part of that. Destruction is that purge is part of the new beginning. It's part of that. And you can fight against it or you can flow with it like nature.
I've done both, you guys. I have been the one that has fought so freaking hard. And again, from my experience, it does not serve you. And again, like I think can I be real for a hot minute? Like we sit here, I love these conversations. I love reminding us. You already know this when you tap in, and it's your journey to experience. But go out. Don't take my and Sarah's word for it. Like you, whoever you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you are, what you've done. You are connected to the source that is part of everyone's soul. You are of source, God, right? Which is cool. So go out within yourself and explore this. Like, try it for yourself. Get the courage and the strength for yourself. And if we can be any reminder as someone that has done it and been through it, like, if you just tweak it a little bit this way, it can be easier for you. But I also like, I just love this whole idea of embracing, because think about too, Sarah, like when you like were coming into spirituality, it like it can feel so heavy, so scary. So you're like you said, your world is being rocked. Everything is falling apart. And in that moment, what do you choose? Again, do you choose the fear or do you choose the faith? It really comes down to walking in fear or walking in faith. And again, this can be easy. Like, look at us right now. We're sitting, I just had a smoothie with Dustin. I had a beautiful morning. You just got your freaking Invisalign. Like, there's shit happening in the world. So it's easy for us to sit here and say this, but I also have to relate to so much of my experience in my life. I've met people that have gone through horrendous stuff. I met a guy in a wheelchair a couple weeks ago that had no legs, had half his arm, had his fingers, had been through shit, but his perspective, he had done the work, and it was so, he like literally was telling me, God, we are so blessed to be alive. I'm like, Jesus, I'm like,
Oh
oh
my
my
God.
God.
Like,
It
that
opened up
gives me
my
so many
soul.
chills.
I full body chills, and I like literally, and I thank God. I thank God for those moments. I think those little moments. I think those angels. I think everything that had to come together to be, yes, I choose to walk in faith, to be, for me to experience that I can now be here to feel it and reiterate it to you. But you guys, like,
And everybody has their own, you know, purging experience, and it
mhm,
doesn't have to look dramatic to the outside
mhm,
world for it to be, especially if you're on this spiritual path. You know what a dark night of the soul feels like. You know what it
mhm,
feels like to have everything bubbling up like that.
mhm,
And you know how frustrating it can possibly be when everybody else expects you to be a certain way because
mhm,
of the packaging or because of the experience or because of the way you
mhm,
walk or talk or act in the world, right? But
mhm,
know that this is an internal purging. This is not
mhm,
something that, you know, that manifestations in the 3D world are going to dictate that this is any easier or lighter for you. And this is not to take away from anybody's experience. This is to say each
mhm.
and every person has their own unique experience and path that they are
Yeah,
walking and journey that they're walking and purging, and
yeah,
being able to honor that process and recognize it
mhm,
as part of a cycle of growth and a new cycle and a new beginning,
mhm,
and not feeling shame or guilt around having it, especially if other people don't think that you should. Like, that's
yeah,
something that you don't have to feel guilty about. You don't have to feel guilty about that. You're going through that. You're going through that. You're entitled to have that
mhm,
experience as well, even though other people should
yeah.
want to point fingers and say you don't deserve to have that, or you're not,
Ah,
you know, you're not okay to have
mhm,
that experience because you haven't gone through X, Y, or Z. And we work with women that have gone through so many things on different
mhm,
levels. Everybody's entitled to their own journey, their
mhm,
own cycling, their own up leveling. I truly believe as a soul, we incarnated here well with plenty of awareness around the experiences we were going to attract into our life over the course of our journey so that we could grow
mhm,
and evolve as a soul and come into more union consciousness with each
mhm.
other,
With
right?
each other.
And not every journey is supposed to look the same, but we need to honor everybody's journey for exactly what it is and not point fingers and say whose is better and whose is worse, because that's
Mhm,
just ego judging, slicing and dicing, and making comparisons, and
yeah,
that's not the way this works when we're coming
mm,
together as one. So
yeah.
um there was something else I was gonna say, and I lost it, so if it pops up, maybe I'll post it in the
It'll,
comments, but yeah, I feel like
yeah.
we're good. Yeah, I feel good.
This was so good. This was really powerful, you guys. Thank you so much for those that were with us in this really kind of dropped in conversation. I do want to give, I have a feeling or a calling to give a shout out to all the women that have recently come into SLA just and have been sitting and accepting their journey, answering their hell yes and going through the purge. What's on the other side, I have tears because I can just feel for you. So just a massive shout out to you guys, you ladies. Um, and every person, I just want to acknowledge again, whatever you're going through in this moment, you are safe to feel it. You're validated to feel it. And when you feel called to step up and rise above it, what's your next step? What is your
Mm,
next step? Forgive
And that's
yourself. Yeah.
the one thing that was coming through is really the women we work with are the ones that choose to use the experiences as lessons for growth, and they are the phoenix that rises from the ashes, from the purge and
Mhm.
from the destruction and comes out so much stronger on the other end. So
Stronger.
just recognize that this is happening on a collective level. This is not something that is even though your experience is unique, collectively we're going through this
Yeah.
purging on a not only on an individual level, but on a collective level as humanity's consciousness
Mhm.
continues to rise in a collective way.
Yeah.
So recognize that when you feel these things and that these are happening to you and you're going through this, and yes,
Mhm.
guess what? Embracing your soul aligned business, I always say, is going to be one of the quickest catalysts to your own individual ascension journey as well, because it's going to require of you your most authentic expression and truth. And all of the other things that are not in alignment with that are going to start to fall away. So,
Mhm.
beliefs in scarcity, beliefs that you're not worthy, beliefs that you can't share your voice or your message or your truth with the world, um, your insecurities, your lack of
Mhm.
confidence, your, you know, all of these different things are going to be bubbling up so you can just come into union with your divine self. We often refer to this, at least I do, I think Vanessa does too, as your I this is how I view it, so I don't want to speak for you, but your empress energy within, right?
Yep.
Like really coming into full ownership and worthiness as a divine being, just because, not because you're building a soul business and so that's making an impact, so now you're
Mhm.
good and now you're worthy. No, you just are.
Boom. You just fucking are. When you
You
can
just
remember that, like, feel that for a hot second. I always like to say that. Feel when something hits you, feel how it hits you, and then tap into it a little bit more to, like, to play with it, and before the ego's like, "No, no, no," like, really feel that. That was so good, girl.
thank you
What
guys
a
for tuning in with us
yeah,
and all
what
the
a powerful
comments.
day.
Yeah, joining in on the conversation. We love you guys tuning in live and getting your perspective as well. And if you're listening to this on the replay, feel free to drop a comment. If you're listening to this on the podcast, anywhere you're watching or listening to this, you can find access to our free masterclass. And this is if you're ready, if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, female entrepreneur looking to make a big impact in the world. And there's three things that our clients really have in common, like core things that I can say really have in common, because we work with light workers, teachers, healers, spiritual messengers, star seeds, whatever you want to refer to. The label doesn't really matter. What really they have in common, though, is that they have a soul calling on their heart to make a massive impact in the world, more so than they probably can do if they were just doing one-to-one. So they are feeling called to really scale and make a massive impact in the world. The other thing they're really feeling called to do is to show up in their most authentic, full expression and share their voice and their message with the world, which
Mhm,
is why they're going to go through a huge purging effect when they also
mhm,
hit Sacred Leader Academy, which always happens across the board. And the other thing is that they were ready to finally open and receive the prosperity that
mhm,
is a byproduct of the output that they're putting into the world. And they're no longer holding themselves back from that. So they're open to receive and be abundantly supported in their
mm,
mission, because scarcity is not a thing that they're buying into anymore. The starving healer syndrome is not cute for them anymore. And they're ready to fully make a bigger impact, be fully supported in doing so, and create the life that they really enjoy living. So if this is resonating with you guys at all, you're going to be able to access the masterclass in Vanessa and I's Instagram bio link. And we would love for you to come connect with us over there so we can join the conversation live, or just that's where we spend our most of our time. But you're going to be able to find this on the podcast or anywhere you're watching this video. So hop into the masterclass. And if the masterclass resonates, Vanessa and I always say, just follow your intuition. All you have to do is follow that spiritual breadcrumb. If it
mhm.
resonates, the next step is to book the free impact assessment directly below the video.
Yeah,
And that's it. And then you go from there. And then we see where that goes. So if it feels good to you, it feels like alignment, if you're feeling called, watch the masterclass. This is where Vanessa and I are just going to share a simple framework that our clients are using to hit their results. And if it resonates, it resonates. And if it does, then you can access the free impact assessment right below the video.
beautiful. Super excited to meet more of you. Love you guys so, so much. Beautiful talk, my girl. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Namaste.